You thought moving on was the end of the story. But for the narcissist, that's where the real drama begins. Let me show you the hidden reactions, the silent panic, and the ruthless games they play once they realize you're no longer under their control. Welcome back to Narcissist Unmasked. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of the narcissist after you've moved on. You might think, they don't care, they've moved on too, right? But trust me, it's not that simple. The truth is, narcissists react to your independence in very specific and predictable ways. And today, we're going to break them all down. So whether you've just broken free or you're still healing, this video will give you the clarity you need. Once you've moved on, the narcissist's first and most immediate emotional reaction is shock. Narcissists often live in a fantasy world where they believe they are always in control of their victims, even long after a breakup. Your emotional detachment is something they didn't expect. They thought you'd always come back. They believed their manipulation had worked. They assumed you'd stay emotionally trapped. When you move on for real, emotionally and physically, it creates a deep crack in their false self. Why? Because your detachment implies something they cannot handle. You no longer validate their worth. A narcissist's entire self-worth is built on external validation. So when you cut that supply off, it causes something psychologists call a narcissistic injury. They feel exposed. Their ego, which they've carefully constructed, starts crumbling. Even if they act like they don't care, internally, they're going through a silent, ego-shattering breakdown. This injury doesn't present itself like normal heartbreak. Instead, the narcissist will likely swing between anger, denial, and even obsessive behavior toward you. Sometimes they mask this by appearing to move on. When a narcissist experiences a narcissistic injury from your absence, they won't usually show it outwardly. Instead, they'll rush to win the breakup. This could look like jumping into a new relationship extremely fast, known as relationship hopping, or finding a new supply. Posting excessive, curated, happy moments on social media. Bragging about how great life is without you. But here's the key, this is all an illusion. Narcissists are masters of image management. Their public life often has nothing to do with their internal reality. Privately, many narcissists are left feeling deep rejection, anxiety over lost control, obsessive curiosity about your life. Your moving on represents the ultimate ego wound. You prove to yourself and to the world that you don't need them anymore. And that's a narrative they cannot tolerate. Once the narcissist realizes they've lost control, one of the most common behaviors is hoovering, named after the vacuum cleaner, because they try to suck you back in. They might send innocent texts or social media likes, apologize for things you thought they'd never acknowledge, claim they've changed or are now self-aware, create emergencies or fake crises to get your attention, use mutual friends or family members to deliver guilt messages. It's important to understand these actions are not genuine remorse. The narcissist isn't motivated by love or regret. They're motivated by their need to re-secure narcissistic supply and recover their wounded ego. They aren't missing you. They're missing the control they once had over you. If the hoovering fails, the narcissist often escalates to the next stage, which is narcissistic rage and even smear campaigns. When they realize you fully emotionally detached, the narcissist may spread lies about you to friends, family, or co-workers, play the victim, and portray you as the abuser. Try to destroy your reputation as punishment for your independence. Why do they do this? Because to them, the only thing worse than losing control is the world knowing they didn't have control in the first place. The smear campaign is an attempt to regain narrative control. Even if they can't control you directly anymore. And even if the narcissist appears to move on with someone new, the truth is they're still dealing with the emotional void you left behind. Why? Because narcissists don't experience closure or emotional growth the way healthy people do. They simply replace. New relationships aren't based on love or connection. They are purely transactional. The new person becomes the new supplier for their ego. But deep inside, the narcissist's fear of being discarded lingers. And no matter how many new partners they collect, the unresolved injury of you moving on often replays in their mind. You became evidence that they are not as powerful as they believed. In those quiet moments, when the mask comes off and nobody's really watching, narcissists often have to face this kind of internal reckoning. They feel emptiness, not growth. They feel anger, not peace. They feel envy, especially if you're thriving without them. This is why narcissists often recycle old relationships or check in months, even years later. The wound of being replaced or moved on from never fully heals for them because they lack the emotional tools to process true loss. So how does a narcissist feel once you've moved on? They feel wounded, rejected, powerless, and exposed, but they'll cover it with charm, fake happiness, or aggression, depending on the moment. The important thing is their feelings are no longer your responsibility. Moving on is the most powerful act of self-love you can commit to. And remember, their reaction isn't about you. It's about losing access to the control and validation you once gave them. If this video helped you understand their mindset, make sure to hit like, subscribe to Narcissist Unmasked, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Stay strong, stay smart, and most importantly, stay free.